Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP. Hey, GuMPers.
Oh my goodness, I keep forgetting I've left those memes up there. Anyway, look, yeah, don't let that happen to you in Portugal. It can so easily happen. Google Maps will take you down tiny little lanes like that. So let me just get rid of that and say good morning to you. Hola, bon dia, Alegria, Monson here. I can hear the echo in the room. I'll do something about that. We had a big old change this weekend. So, boa semana, happy new week to you on this happy Monday, or Migration Monday, of course, where James Holley, the slug. I wonder what he's calling himself today. Let's find out, shall we? Yeah, very echoey here. I'll do something about that, but it doesn't probably look very different to you. Maybe a little bit of Mike arm in the picture. Mike's arm. Thank you, Mike. You're really muffled, says. I wonder if I turn that down, does that sound any better? Yes, because I've set up a proper co-pilot seat opposite me here for Mrs. M, and mics aren't working. Okay, Lisa and I are ecstatic to be back and connect with you all, but you can't hear me. That's unfortunate, isn't it? Wrong mic, I wonder. Well, it sounds like it's coming out here, but I can't see why you can't hear it. Let me see if you can hear my rim shot. Are you hearing my rim shot? Oh, that sounds like you. Okay, so maybe when I put up the other mic, that's what causes the problem. Okay, so back to the drawing board. I don't know if Mrs. M is going to join me this morning anyway. She's quite tired this morning. We had a really brilliant and busy weekend. Let me find out what you've been up to. You're coming through the... Oh, I'm coming through the PC mic, so that's the problem. Well, that's a real rookie error, isn't it? Oh, of course. Okay, let me just change that.
Thank you. That is why he is the top producer, T-Duck. Is it better? Is that better? You're coming through the PC mic. Thank you for this real-time production. You're amazing, T-Duck. Thank you very much. Not only that, but all the wonderful contributions that we'll touch on now, and we'll find out if that's any better. I think it should be now. I think I've nailed it. I was coming through one of the other microphones. I've plugged so many different mics in. Yeah, wrong mic. You're really muffled. You're coming through the PC mic. Much better. Et voila. Fantastic, everybody. Thanks for bearing with. Let's see how you've been doing this weekend then. Bon dia, Alegria, GuMPers from T-Duck before he got involved in sorting the microphones out this morning. At 8:04. It sounds a bit late for you, T-Duck. Did you have a good and busy weekend? Ooh, a bit of Sun Tzu. Is that the art of war, Chinese philosopher? And we kick off this morning on Happy Monday here in Portugal with a bit of art of warfare philosophy. There is no instance of a nation benefiting from prolonged warfare. And there you go. It takes a great general, doesn't it, to talk of the nonsense of war. And Sun Tzu, I think he was the creator, wasn't he, of what later became the art of war. Of course, he didn't write it with that name, but yeah, he was, of course, a Chinese military general, strategist, philosopher, and writer. Could do with a few more of the cut of his jib in the present age, could we not? Portuguese saying of the day. Repeat after me, everybody. Now adianta corar pelo leite derramado. Something to do with milk here. And we know what people say about milk. No use crying over it. So there you go. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, move on. Draw a line under that or make cream. No, maybe. Maybe don't. Hugo Nuno. How was your weekend, T-Duck? Can I have a duck rating from you for the weekend, please, or for your weekend and everybody else? How was your bon fin de semana, everybody? Who knew, or how bon was your bon fin de semana? There are a lot of Arab origin words in Portuguese. For example, arrecif coming from the Arabic for platform, which also means reef. Saloya means rustic, and Algarve means the west. Thank you very much for those Arab origin words. as we continue to celebrate the Qatari World Cup. Nice little connection made there, T-Duck. Well done, England. Jittery first half. 3-0. That'll do, won't it? Well done, lads. Very good. I'm a real fair weather England fan, just like everybody else, I think, in England, apart from the rare exception. But good effort, everybody. How's your team doing? Do let us know in the chat, as well as how your weekend went. James is here as well. What's he calling himself this week? Slug's annual Santa Cruz lighted boat parade. Brilliant, thank you. Is that an advert? That's an advert, I think, isn't it? Bom dia, GuMPers. Feliz segunda todos. Como foi os vossos fins de semana? If I star that, I can ask him that, can't I, when we speak at 9 o'clock? Let me just, yes, the ticker tape has been forgotten again. Let me see. What have we got in the ticker tape? Oh, we've got added Bob and Viv, so I better change that just quickly. Okay, if I just cut that bit out there and save it for the next time they're on, I think we're in business. Let me just pop that onto the screen then. I'm moving to Portugal. Any questions? It's Happy Monday Portugal. Hashtag Happy Monday Portugal with James Holley at 9. With a touch of the old mindful migration, he is listening. He's listening to your thoughts and his own, which he will share with us from 9 o'clock. So send your questions, comments, and community contributions, please, to 913-590-303. Quick shout outs to everybody else currently in the chat. Oh, Baddy, that gives me a chance to show your mountain view, doesn't it? Ooh. Who misses? Didn't really think about that. Wouldn't be the first time either, would it? But Baddy's here. Deagle's here as well. Carlos M. Good morning, GuMPers. Great to be back in Portugal and talk to all of you live. That's fantastic, Carlos. How are you and Lisa? Bon dia from an overcast but festive say. And here it probably looks a little bit like this. This is a picture that Baddy sent in last week when I asked for the mountain view. There's the mountains in the distance. Oh, look at that lovely stone staircase next door to you. Is that your home or your next door neighbor there, Baddy? That's beautiful. Thank you very much for that. I think you can probably get some pretty moody shots from central Portugal at the moment with the crisp air and blue light. I'm talking about amazing pictures. We've had some brilliant pictures in from Anna Olsen, who sent us a rainbow mixed with a sunset, I think it is. What does Anna say to me? I am getting used to the new setup. It probably looks very similar to you. Sounded terrible, didn't it, when we started? But these pictures, Botard, feel free to share these amazing pics of my 4th floor apartment view. Anna's recently moved and settling in nicely. This is a really nice omen for a good omen for her future. And we do wish you the very best in your new place, Anna. The first two of the sunrise and the third of the sunset the same day. Bon Domingo. So that came in through to us yesterday. But you have to see these. These are really extraordinary from Anna. Thank you very much for these. And to anybody else who wants to send in pickies on 913-590-303, excuse me, on the WhatsApp line. Look at that. I think that is the third one. That is the concluding sunset. Earlier that same day, you had a touch of this. Isn't that extraordinary? And then this. This is the really special one, isn't it? With a rainbow and sunrise. I'm going to go with sunrise. The rainbow and sunrise. Well, can I see a bit of sea there, which would make it a sunset, wouldn't it? But anyway, just look at that. I've never seen a picture like that before. An extraordinary sunset / sunrise, and with a rainbow in the mix as well. Thank you, Anna, so much. That's going to go on the GuMPer gallery, isn't it? Over on the website. And over on the website, of course, as well, is the Advent calendar, which I'll talk to you about in just a moment as well. Brian's here too. Brian Taylor. Good morning, Brian. How are you? And Storm. And Jean's here too. How are you doing, Jean? Hola, bon dia a todos. Feliz segunda-feira. And Bayrandi is here. Bon dia a todos. Hope everyone had a splendid weekend and braced for a festive, fun-filled week ahead. Got your tree up yet? No, it's just the way I walk. Thank you for setting that up for me, Andy. And you did send in a wonderful picture of your weekend cycle ride. And yes, just letting us know very gently that you are a neighbor of the Luis Pato wine producer as well. I think since I set this up, my camera seems to be dropping a little bit as well. Let me just make a little bit of an adjustment there. Yeah, I think that's better now. Andy, where is your cycle ride from the weekend? Let me see if I can find it. Because you have promised to send in a Christmas greeting as well. That is how our advent calendar is working this weekend. I do need to download your. Oh, there's a lot of it. Oh, I see. What's happening here? Your motorcycle event as well. Aveiro Automobilia. We rode our motorbikes to it, popped into a local bar for a huge spicy pick-a-pow. Who doesn't like a huge spicy pick-a-pow? And a few beers on the return, now back for an early night to gird our loins for tomorrow morning's cycle ride. Living life to the fullest. That's what we like to see. Andy, fantastic. And look at that. The level of auto jumble at the Automobilia in Aveiro is extraordinary there. I think I have to make a little blog of that. And you have a video for us, which I will download and play now for everybody, which you say is a blustery start. Certainly deserved our beers at the end. So I'll play this. This is a bracing ride by the sound of it from the weekend. This is what Andy was up to. And we'll tell you more about the advent calendar that's coming up soon as well. Where's that gone, Andy? Let me just find that. Not quite what we were looking for, Paul Richards. I will come back to that as well. Where's your video gone, Andy? I'm trying to save it now and I can't. I'll tell you what, I'm going to play a different video and I'll come back to that one. I'm going to play you Mrs. M's video. Oh, I see why I couldn't do that. Mrs. M was tasting... What was she tasting? Ginger. It was ginger on Ginginia action, everybody, over in Alcobaça at the weekend. Well, on Friday. The weekend begins on Friday for us. And we were over there, and I treated Mrs. M to a ginger in a chocolate cup. So we've got that little review, which is one of our advent calendar videos. This is Andy's, however. Let me just play this for you first. Put your seatbelt on and listen to some heavy breathing, I think, from Andy now, who I think was this on Saturday morning. I think he did this on Saturday. Cheers, Andy. Over to you.
Hola, bom dia a todos. So, where are we? We're at Mirror, the lovely Mirror again. There's the lake. Oh, there's a little dog. There's a lovely seaside. Now, look at that, eh? Fantastic. There's young Fernando. There's the fishing boats. Come and get your fish, some cafes, bars. Fantastic stuff. Ciao, Bellas.
His smiley face. Thank you very much for that, Andy. Never tire of seeing your cycle videos. Mira there, M-I-R-A, which is not far from Tosha, or Tocha, T-O-C-H-A. Two great seaside towns that I think are lost somewhat in the shadows of Aveiro's great reputation. Barra and Costa Nova are a little bit further up north. But Mira and Tocha, great beaches to go to, as are many others all along the Atlantic coast. I'm sure many people tuned in have their favorite Atlantic beach town, which is lesser known, which they're probably not even going to tell us about. So thank you very much for that, Andy. That is superb. And I promised you some ginger on Ginginia action this morning as well, didn't I? But before I do that, let me just do this quickly for you. Yes, we are lighting up Christmas again. Do you remember how we did this last year, 2021, when things seemed a little bit grim, didn't we? We didn't let it get to us. We brought all of our Christmas footage together and made, I think, at least 2 lovely light up Christmas videos, and we're at it again this year. And I think lighting up Lisbon is happening tonight as well. Let me just bring this onto the screen by way of a preface to what I want to share with you this morning on our advent calendar idea. So yeah, Lisbon lighting up. Thank you very much, T-Duck, for this as well. Lisbon lighting up, that'll be tonight. Christmas lights in Lisbon this year will be turned on this evening at 7 p.m. What lovely baubles. That's like that what's the loudest noise in the jungle joke, isn't it? Lisbon lighting up. Lisbon City Council reveals that the official start of Christmas lighting in the city of Lisbon will take place in the Praça do Comércio next to the Christmas tree in Terreiro do Passo, with the presence of the Mayor Carlos Moedas. This year, Lisbon Council chose to reduce the hours for Christmas lighting. Boo! Guaranteeing, that's not Christmas cheer, sorry. Ignore that. Guaranteeing savings of 50% in energy consumption compared to last year. Nice bit of virtue signaling gas lighting for the Christmas lighting there. Now the hours of traditional Christmas illuminations will be from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. from Sunday to Thursday, and 6 p.m. to midnight on Friday and Saturday. Wow. That's just when a lot of Portuguese people are going out. I think there'll be a bit of grumpiness about that, won't there? A bit of bar humbug with the lights going out at midnight. Isn't it nice to drive home late after being at a party or going to a club and seeing the Christmas lights on? And from 6 p.m. to 1 a.m., oh, an extra hour, people, you've been given. I must stop grinching about this, mustn't I? On Christmas. It's not a good look on Christmas Day and New Year's Eve. But there you go. The important matter there is that you have a lovely lighting up taking place tonight in Lisbon. Great job. Thank you very much for that, T-Duck, for mention of that. And that's what we're looking for. If by any chance you can be videoing yourself wishing everybody a happy Christmas, we will put it on our advent calendar, which I'm going to show you now. Now, people have been getting off to the wrong idea. Thank you very much for this creative effort, Paul, of an advent calendar featuring me. That's not quite what I had in mind. It's brutal photoshopping there. Thank you very much for that, Paul. What I'd really like to do this year, if possible, and Mrs. M and Dougie have already made their contributions to this, as have I, because this inspiration came to me on Friday when we were in Alcobaça. On our website, goodmorningportugal.com, you will see the first 4 windows that have now been opened. And of course, look, all the other windows, 19 of them left that have yet to be opened. You could be in that window. So the first one was our little greeting to kick Christmas off. The second was my invitation to you from Alcobaça to send me a video of yourself wishing all the GuMPers and the whole world, wishing in concentric circles, love and best wishes and festive cheer to the GuMPers, to the country, to the world, to the universe. Please video yourself doing that. Or if not that, then a voiceover as you look at the Principio in your town, or the Christmas lights in your town, or your own Christmas tree. I think Digor's going to feature his own Christmas tree, which I have to say is looking very fabulous as well. Christmassy themed video of yourself, a minute or two, and we'll have an example from Doug as well as did we do that one from I don't think we did, because I think we premiered that at the weekend, but that will get us in the Christmas mood. Oh, and I've got a Portuguese wine quiz to share with you today, interspersing seasoning James's contribution with the salt and pepper of a Portuguese wine quiz. Forgot to mention that this morning. James joining us in about 10 minutes. Sorry, where was I? Yeah, Christmas Advent calendar. Send us videos and we will stick them up on here. 24 of them, of course, because that's how Advent calendars work. And I don't think we'll be doing a show on Christmas Day, but we'll certainly be here on Christmas Eve. And so far then, yes, we have the introductory Boas Festas, my message from Alcobaça, Luisa's ginger tasting from Alcobaça, and Dougie in Birmingham as well. I wonder what happens. Will it play if I click on? Let me open that window now and see if this works. Oh, it does. Isn't that pretty?
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas, everyone. Time for a 2-minute taster.
Joy to the world. Thank you very much, Doug, for that. So there you go. I think you can see our Christmas advent calendar again. Do please send in a video. 913-590-303. That's probably why it's best to keep it to a minute or two. Yes, don't mind a nice long one in the morning, but maybe we can put those up on our YouTube channel rather than playing 20 minutes of Christmas greetings. Although it's beginning to feel a lot like that right now. Pardon the choice of her words there, entirely intended. Beautiful sunrise. Is that how you like to refer to me in the morning, Deagle? I think you're talking about Anna's pictures there, aren't you? So there you go. That is the Advent idea. Please send in your videos. 913-590-303. That number on the screen for you now. It's the advent of the slug himself. Slug's friend James joining us soon with a bit of mindful migration input. Morning from Lloyd as well. How you doing, Lloyd, this morning? I've got a business idea for you. Can you supply Christmas trees in the San Martino de Porto area, preferably the potted type? Is that something you might want to do? Lloyd, we thought of you yesterday when someone was asking me where to get a Christmas tree. Okay, I was really muffled. I think I'm on the right mic now. Great to see that Carlos and Lisa are here. And Carlos saying, delighted to be here in Portugal for the Christmas period. Excited about the holidays here in Portugal. We'll check out the Lisbon lights and Christmas markets. Thanks, Mr. Duck. What a lovely tip. What no Christmas Day show? You've listened to your lovely wife about time to take some time off and just be with your family. It's what Christmas Day is for. Well, other stuff too, but nothing as important. Well, you know what will happen, I think, maybe, Fiona, is I will say, yeah, that's it. I'm taking Christmas off. And then Mrs. M will say, why don't we do a show together? To which, of course, I'll say, yeah, okay. All right. Smash that like button, says T-Duck as well. Thank you very much for that, T-Duck. And I think, oh, Mrs. M is here. Can you see yours? Can I? This is a first, isn't it? Which studio is Mrs. M in? They can hear you now if you speak.
Can they? Hello, everybody.
They can't see you just yet. It's just like radio.
I'm like the man in the moon.
Okay, so I think you'll be able to see yourself with my new magnificent setup. It didn't go terribly well at the beginning. You're not making very favourable faces there.
No, StreamYard says try again.
Oh dear. Okay, but we can hear and see you, and you're looking pretty good. But I won't put you on the screen just yet. No, I can, but not everybody else can, which you'll be glad to see as you just crunch into a bit of torrada there. It's not just toast, it's torrada here in Portugal. So I'll give you a bit of time to adjust yourself. Fiona's just saying, what no Christmas Day show? You've listened to your lovely wife. About time to take some time off just to be with your family is what Christmas Day is for. Well, other stuff too, but nothing as important as that. Thank you very much. Matty, stop that. Solo Life Portugal. Pete, Matty talking to you and saying, yeah, was great. Or was that Pete was great? The club went to another club near Porto de Mos on Sunday. They had javali and castanhas. So what's that? A little bit of wild boar and some chestnuts. I'm not sure what's going on there, but I imagine Pete asked Matty how his weekend went. Some early dad jokes, Pete flavoured, of course. What do you call Santa's helpers? Subordinate clauses. That is actually very good, Pete. Thank you. And did you hear about the dyslexic Satanist? He sold his soul to Santa. That's quite a good outcome, isn't it? I think in that particular scenario there. Thank you very much, Pete, for those this morning. Hope you had a great weekend. And Pete enjoying that fabulous cloud bow as well. Let me just show you. Mrs. M didn't see that. Let's have a look at the cloud bow. Anna, in that case, is a cloud bow selector, isn't she? And there you go. There's the. Oh, I'm just showing it to Mrs. M. She's walked out the room. She might be disgusted with the setup that I've created her. I cannot work under these conditions. Louisa, says Carlos M. Who's pleased to see you as well this morning. And your hog and nuts Sound yummy, says Pete to you, Matty, this morning. And yet another thing we did at the weekend, which was really rather marvelous, was go to the wonderful Quinta in Salero de Porto. Here's the photograph of. I didn't take as many photographs as I would have liked to have done. A Quinta. And if you want to find out more about this wonderful place, aquintadecilia.com, there's their website, which is on a sign on their fence. And I was just so engrossed by the food and drink and mulled wine and meeting people who are really neighbours, but don't get to see too often in and around Salero de Porto and San Martino de Porto. I didn't really take many pictures. That gives you an idea of what's happening there. It is a quinta, a working farm where they have kids come along for a couple of days a week for a bit of rustic outdoor education, and they do some fabulous things. They're lovely to meet Siobhan and Patsy, who run the place. And then if you wander up the hill, you get this view. You just toddle along, turn left outside of Quinta de Cilia, go up the steps to the Miradoro, and you can see that. And you'll notice the San Martino de Porto Bay in the distance behind that rather rugged cross there. What are these other memes I have here and pictures? Oh, 700 subscribers, Mrs. M. She's good. Can I just put your mic on so you can clap into your mic? There she is. Woo! Thank you so much, everybody, for getting behind our efforts to monetize on YouTube. Thank you very much for that. We're up to 700 now. That's fantastic. All the watch times and everything are just fantastic. We just need to get up to 4 figures for monetization to take place. What's this? Is this rude or okay? Oh, no, Julie Dawn Fox's recent blog on Christmas and New Year in Portugal, what you need. I would commend that to you, and also let you know that Katia Lima, another prestigious and prodigious and prolific blogger in Portugal, will be with us for Indie Portugal Thursday, talking about Portuguese booze and some of the lesser known liqueurs and drinks that you might want to impress your Portuguese friends and neighbors with. So join us with Katia on Thursday as well. Oh, and Antonio, I forgot to show Antonio's picture. This is maybe well be from his window, and that's the Sintra Hills and Palaces in the distance as well. What a lovely view to have from your window, Antonio F. How's that going, Mrs. M? Is it not happening? Well, can you just put your headphones on and talk into the microphone, because we can see you. Are you happy with that, even though you can't? Will you trust me to put you on screen? She's not. He's not leaping at that chance. She will. Okay. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready, Mrs. M, because I'm going to welcome onto the screen James in just a moment after I found his music. We have launched Christmas officially while you were getting yourself ready and zhooshing up your hair there. Oh, and we do have a wine quiz. We've got the wine tasting tonight, which features some bolotos, trincos bolotos, the fallen acorns, right, that are fed to the pigs in the Alentejo. And it's an Alentejo wine, which is from the Herdade do Peso, the trincas. Sorry, a trinca bolotos, fallen acorns. 8 o'clock tonight, and you'll hear the second half of the Portuguese wine quiz, which I shall be interspersing. You really look grumpy over there, like you really are going to storm out any minute. I cannot work under these circumstances. So I'm going to pepper a few of those questions in this morning. There you go. If you can't move the mic, drop your seat. Very good. Let's bring her onto the screen. Stop picking your teeth. This is real radio now. Is it weird not being able to see yourself?
I can't hear anyone.
I
can't hear you.
Well, I'll turn your headphones up.
Thank you. That's better. That's much better.
I imagine that you do feel quite vulnerable.
Yeah, I do feel very vulnerable because I can't see anything. I can't see the chat room. I can't see. Yeah, I feel very blind, in fact.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, well, I'll see what I can do about that.
It feels like I'm being interviewed and I can't see the interviewers.
Yeah, this is what
I'm on a panel.
Yes, it's proper radio. This is but normally there isn't a visual of the person talking and they can't see themselves. So I'm so sorry for that. But I'm sure we'll get over it, and we'll have James join us now, who can see himself. James,
yeah, so you can all see each other's body language, but I can't.
Exactly. Could be a new TV show.
I think the TV show is like, which studio is Mrs. M in today?
Yeah.
And what studio faux pas?
And what I'm going to do is put us the other way around. So when you look at me, if we look at each other, that is now correct. Excellent. Okay. See you after this.
And I still can't see it.
No, see you after this, James. boing. Here he is.
Bon dia. Bon dia, blind Louisa.
Hello, how are you?
So you can hear it.
The great news is I was not going to put any Portuguese words and phrases up for me to embarrass myself with. So that's a positive.
I can embarrass myself.
But I can't see all the memes that you're talking about. So now I know what
That
it's
is
like for all
rubbish,
your
isn't it?
podcast listeners. I
Sure.
know exactly what it's like when you're talking about memes that nobody can see. But anyway, hello, James. How are you?
What a pro you are. What a pro.
Oh, dear.
Estou bem, obrigado. E tu?
Yeah, we're okay.
Em português, faz favor.
I've got my Portuguese lesson later. I need to get my Portuguese head on. I can't concentrate. I can't see
What
anyone.
is I am grumpy?
I'll tell you what.
Pesadelo.
No. But I did have lots of really vivid dreams last night.
Did you?
Yeah, I did actually.
Well, he is listening.
Yeah.
Frasier's here and listening. What do you want to tell us about
Well,
your
it's
dreams?
just really funny actually, James. Aside from, I'm a bit cranky, but I've been listening to a series of podcasts and I've been talking to my body a lot. I realized I've been quite sort of disconnected from my physical being. I've been all in my head and not in my body. And it's so funny because since I've started talking to my body and realizing just how awful I've been driving it, I've had these really psychotropic dreams almost.
What?
Yeah.
Nothing to do with that broccoli we ate last night.
No. And in fact, I almost couldn't sleep very well last night, with just feeling like the energies of everyone around me. And so I went off into a bedroom on my own and had a really, really good night's sleep.
Good for you.
For the last 2 hours of the night and dreamt really vividly. And now I know I've got a list of people that I want to contact. It's like lots of things from the past.
You woke up wanting to contact people.
Well, actually, yesterday I wanted to contact somebody from our past, and I did. I made contact. And today I want to contact my homeopath. It's time.
It's that time. Yikes.
It's time to have a bit of, it was so funny. Just like, I obviously haven't dreamt properly for years, I think.
The dream dam has been burst.
Lots of dams are being burst at the moment within me. So.
Damn.
Well, good for you. So,
and my body's really just wanting to enjoy itself. I just want to be in comfort right now. Sorry, this wasn't supposed to be my therapy
it's about
session,
migration normally.
It's all right, caller. I'm listening.
I feel like I'm in a very sort of intimate space. Nicely done, Frasier. I feel like I'm in a sort of really intimate space and it's bringing out a different side of me maybe. But yeah, I just want to feel comfort and sleep lots.
Wow.
Well, thank you for your transparency and vulnerability.
Totally vulnerable, yeah.
There he is.
Yeah. Thank you for listening and hearing me.
Oh, get a studio, you two. James, how are you this morning? What's been on your mind?
Oops, sorry.
Oh, not only is she unhappy with the studio, she's
Are you getting smaller? I swear, it looks like little Louisa at the desk. Yeah, because apparently the chair dropped down. So
I had to move the chair because I couldn't move the mic up.
There you go.
Yes. Down. It was easier.
We will make it.
It's very sweet, and it's very suited to the state that you bring to the studio today. That vulnerability, that youthful, childlike person who's, wondering at the world. So
yeah,
it all fits.
Yeah.
It's as if I meant to do it, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, Carl, for that. For your contribution.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's done a good job. You've done well.
So what has been on your mind, Slug's friend James, this week?
Well, today is, speaking of vulnerability, I had some thoughts about what I might like to bring to the show. And then not so much in dreams, but in waking this morning, I started thinking of privilege. And part of that came out of my gratitude, because one of my morning rituals is to practice gratitude. So I spend time looking at what I'm grateful for. And very often, almost every day, one of the things I'm grateful for is being here in Portugal. And that just clicked something in my head about privilege, the privilege of being here. It then led itself to this idea, and I don't think I'm terribly wrong, that virtually everyone in our community is extremely privileged. And we tend to, I know I do, and I think we tend to lose sight of that. We're privileged. If we're here on a visa, it means we have financial means to be here, which in this modern day world is a huge advantage in being able to live more comfortably and have more choices available to us. So this idea of privilege, to me, it just really kind of took over my thinking. And speaking of your body, Louisa, my body, it just really hit me what that means in a way that I don't think I've ever really felt it before. And it connects to the season for me, because I think part of what triggered it is I wrote a piece many years ago that I titled Fa La 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 La, Another Perspective of the Holidays. And I have that here with me in the event that we have time for it. If not, I can address it next week. But that really got me thinking about the value of awareness of our privilege. So, there are people who feel guilty for it. There are people who feel superior for it. There are lots of feelings that come with this sense of privilege. But for me, it's not about that. It's about gratitude. It's about being grateful that I have what I have. And this notion that it's not even a responsibility, but what's attached to that for me is to look at what am I complaining about? I have complaints. We all have complaints.
Yeah.
But if I then shift my view to my privilege, then I become grateful for what I have as opposed to complaining about what's not quite working right. And I'm as guilty of it as anybody. I've been complaining a lot in the last several months about how I cannot possibly figure out how to get my damn driver's license exchanged. Like that's the biggest problem in the world because it's relevant to me personally in the moment. But when I look at where am I having this complaint from? I'm having this complaint from an incredibly affordable lifestyle in a country of generosity and kindness, and with the opportunity to learn a language and meet people from all over the world. It's like all of a sudden this driver's license thing is just not a thing anymore. So it's the gratitude for what I have that diminishes the complaining and increases the peace. And that's really my message in terms of the notion of privilege. It's a function of awareness. With the privilege, if I choose to become more aware of it, then I'm also aware of people with less privilege. I'm aware of the challenges in the world, and it allows me to consider what, if anything, do I want to do about that? What choices do I want to make, given my position of privilege, where I might be able to influence the world in positive ways that other people might not. So all of that to me is so totally fitting for the season that we're coming into, the Christmas, the holidays, however we experience this time of the year. It's a huge opportunity to raise awareness. And that is the focus of the piece that I wrote, which is what triggered all this stuff about privilege. So,
well, if we don't, are you photographing yourself, Mr.
Trying to see what I look like.
You
no
look
idea.
beautiful. You look absolutely beautiful.
None of those cameras can get.
It's part of my privilege to look at you this morning. See what I did?
Yeah, you do have a very radiant appearance on the camera today.
Yeah. And I think the slight anger bubbling underneath the surface brings a nice rosy glow to your cheeks as well.
No,
maybe.
come on, let's not take away from James.
Can you see yourself now?
No, I can't.
Okay, we'll figure that out.
I have to feel myself. I have to feel myself in my body. And
yes, extra vulnerability.
Like the privilege, though. I mean, what I'm hearing there is this feeling of vulnerability for having no privilege.
Not so much vulnerability for me, because I don't disparage the privilege that I have. For me, it's mostly about awareness, but I'm aware, I'm also in that awareness aware some people feel guilty that they have privilege. Some people feel ashamed about it. It's like that, for me, that's not the most constructive way to have that. Is to look at the gratitude of being in that position, and what do I, if I choose to do anything, what do I want to do with it? And I think that's a way out of that shame. Is I'm doing things to attempt to make the world a better place because of the privilege that I have. Is for me a much better place to live in than, oh
nice.
God, other people are poor and they're starving to death and they can't, you know, it's like that doesn't do me or the world any good.
Yeah.
So that's the point for me. The vulnerability is perhaps in bringing it to light, you know, talking about it. I don't think privilege gets talked about a whole lot. And again, the vulnerability for me today is that when I write, it's usually to bring myself some clarity or to express myself in ways that I might not speak it. So very typically what I've written is like a real revealing of myself. So that's why I was doing that today.
To have that on our website. We have blogs on our website now from the community, James, and I feel free to read it today as well. But I would love to stick it on our blog because people can really get the chance to read it and consider it that way. And I think it is wonderful what you've said this morning, because one thing you mentioned was in the use of the word privilege. It has been used as a stick to beat people with more recently.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you just don't want to go there, do you? It's a bit like the environment. You know, I think the environment, there's a lot of kind of self-hatred and human hating going on at the moment, and people being made to feel very ashamed and embarrassed of being a human being, or being this kind of human being in relation to that other kind of human being. And I agree with you completely. That doesn't help us at all. It's not a resourceful state for the future of humanity for people to be feeling like that. Now, fair enough. If they feel like that, they feel like that. Excuse me. And it's important that we don't gloss over that or bury it or hide it. And that's exactly what you've done this morning, haven't you? You're aware of a feeling you've got. You've brought it up for consideration, and you seem to have made something rather good of it. And you've reframed privilege for me in that way, because I don't like to think about it, because it is exactly that for me. When I think of privilege, I know I'm privileged, and I don't want to have it as an instrument of shame or comparison or a way of undermining myself or anybody else.
Or
so
to be discriminated against because of it. Because there are those people with less privilege who demonize those that have, you know, and I think there's all kinds of room for both directions. But the point ultimately is that doesn't change or help anything. It just tends to separate us more rather than bring us together.
Yeah. And you're not saying people shouldn't do it either, are you? You're just noticing what happens when that does happen and what we might do about it. Yeah, there you go. There he is. That's why he's here on a Monday morning. Everybody, beautiful insight this morning.
Well, it's all about the notice, choose, and act. So that, you know, I noticed it, then my choice was to ponder it, think about it. What do I want to say about it? And then to take action on that. So the same is true as awareness is raised. That's the notice. So as people may be thinking about it more, then they're in a position to choose what they want to do about it. If they've been feeling guilty about it, is that the choice I want to make? And what else could I choose? And what actions can I take that will support that choice? That's really what it's about. Empowering ourselves to be the best selves that we choose to be.
Well said. Well said. Thank you very much for that indeed this morning. I'm sure we'll come back to that. And Pete's making an interesting point about, I suppose, looking at others. What Pete's saying here is not everyone in the community is privileged. Spare a thought for Will Thompson in his tent. Sorry to giggle, but knowing Will as I do, I don't think I don't know, and I don't want to speak for Will. I've done enough of that. It's got me into all sorts of trouble. But and the point is, you know, it's not for me to say, is it, whether he is or isn't privileged. And I think he chooses that life. And actually, one thing I would be correct in saying is that Will actually, despite living in a tent, feels very privileged, and maybe that's why he does live in a tent. He really has a great sense of his impact on the planet, and I think that's why he lives the way he does. When it comes to the Fundao market traders, I don't know whether they are or not. Isn't it interesting, James, that some of them will be standing there, possibly in the rain and the cold, thinking, "I am living my best life. I was born to do this," and others. And my recollection of car boot sales is this is probably one of the worst things that's ever happened to me as I stand here and that's how privileged I am. To be honest, that one of the worst things happened to me is I got cold and wet doing a car boot stall. So we don't really know, do we, for other people?
No, and if we're choosing to live in gratitude, we can go down and down and down in terms of our resources, but if we have a roof over our head, we can be grateful. If we have food to eat, we can be grateful. If we have people who love us and that we can love, even if we don't have shelter or food, we could be grateful. So privilege is even flexible. I think we have a general understanding that privilege means people of means, people who have substantial amounts of things. And so I don't want to get down to, the homeless person has a nickel in his pocket so he can be grateful. It's like, no, that's not privilege. But the idea mostly is to notice, to be aware. And in that moment, when we see someone that we think might have less resources than us, be grateful that we have our privilege. Be grateful that we have the resources we have. And in that, maybe say where we might tend to look away if someone is asking for money, we might tend to look away and not want to acknowledge that because there's some part of our privilege that gets challenged, is to rethink that and say, well, I'm in this position, and which puts me in a position to be generous. And I don't know if this euro is going to help or not. I had the experience in Santa Cruz, California once, because I made a point of getting dollar coins as spare change that I carry around with the intention of giving it all away in the course of that day. And I approached one woman and I handed her a dollar coin. She thought it was a quarter, because in US coins, they do stuff like that. It looks almost exactly like a quarter, but it's 4 times more value. She literally started crying because I had handed her a dollar instead of a quarter.
Wow.
And it's like, these things can make a huge difference. And I had some guy following me, or not following me, he was walking behind me, seeing me handing out dollars to people who are asking for money on the street in Santa Cruz. And there's a lot of them. And he got mad at me. He said, you're just causing these people to come here and want to stay here.
Really?
I'm like, well, inside I said, fuck you too, mister. But I didn't actually say it. I don't know what I said, but I carried on. I wasn't shamed by it. If anything, I felt more righteous about it. But so
Well done.
we just don't know what difference our kindness and our generosity can make. And if we don't have a dollar, but we have a dime, well, maybe it won't make a huge difference to the other person. That's not really the point. The point is I'm making an effort to be the most generous I can be given the resources I have.
Oh man, and that's mindful privilege, James. You see, what else I'm realizing in what you're talking about here is the weaponization of all these things, right? So we kind of weaponized charity, haven't we? We've weaponized privilege, and we've weaponized virtue signaling, and all these things, so that they become very kind of what I would say sort of not unhelpful, emotionally driven things. Whereas if someone is truly concerned about hunger and homelessness, and it comes from a deep place of, I'm going to do something about this, like you did. You had a carefully crafted strategy there, didn't you? Rather than that situation we've all been in, which is like, I'm not going to give this person money, they'll only spend it on drugs moment. That's what goes through your mind, isn't it? Or not, yes. Or like, I'm going to give this person all of my money because I feel really bad. Those instant, sort of quite emotional reactions are very hot, but not very light, I think, if I may put it like that. And the really lasting impact on homelessness and hunger, I think, would come from a much more considered position on it than a knee-jerk emotional reaction in a situation that has been weaponized or is just a way of making oneself feel better, possibly. And we see this, don't we? People who've really thought about these things and really apply themselves in a deep way make a real impact. and because there's a passion involved in it rather than just a hot emotion involved in it. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well, in my experience of reading Neil Walsh's Conversations with God's books, there was one thing that stuck with me, which was you can be generous simply by giving what you have. So if you don't have money, give someone a flower. If you don't have a flower, give someone a compliment. Give what you have. Give your heart. You have your heart. That's where generosity comes from. And that's what, if you're looking at this notion of karma or energetic return on how we exist in the world, if you're being generous like that, then I believe that the world is generous back, that there's energy that comes back in that way somehow. So
Wonderful.
You don't have to be rich to be generous. Well, at least rich monetarily.
Yeah. You are stimulating thoughts. This is the karmic return of your thoughts, possibly here. Is James not really talking about Christmas, helping reaching out to others in our society? It's a great time, certainly, isn't it? It's a good frame for doing that. I think there is an intersection here of the Christmas spirit and what James is talking about for sure. Little things mean a lot. I often say that to Mrs. M. We never know how what we do will impact. However,
why would you say that to me?
Do nothing,
I think you should start that one over, Carl.
Yeah, sorry. Jim White says, little things mean a lot. We never know how what we do will impact. However, if we do nothing, nothing will be impacted.
Yeah.
Jim! Yes!
Yeah.
Kate's here as well. Bon dia todos. How you doing, Kate? This morning. And Jim also adds, with awareness of our privilege, the question, where am I needed and how can I serve emerges.
Yes.
Oh, Jim, I don't have the Jim and the James this morning. So a sandwich of loveliness, isn't it? I feel privileged to be in between these two slices of Jim this morning. Where am I needed and how can I serve emerges. I don't have an answer as yet, but it is like a fridge hum in the back of my mind. Nice work this morning, Jim. And lots of compliments for you. Jim also saying, Mrs. M, Louisa, you look marvelous.
And that's without an R. Marvelous.
Marvelous. It's like Kerry Grant saying it. Marvelous. Sarah's there as well.
You look marvelous.
Bon dia, GuMPers from Pips in Botswana as well. Carlos M. Great to see you, Mrs. M. Bon dia todos. And hello, Louisa as well. Another one from Jim there. So you look lovely. And somebody saying it would be great if you could make Carl a cup of coffee in a little while. That's quite very thoughtful, isn't it?
That's interesting how when they never say that when I can see the comments, but today, the day when I can't
it's
see
a miracle.
It's a miracle. I was actually thinking of getting one for myself as well. So I might actually exit at this point.
No, don't go just yet. Because
how the hell am I going to get you
you might like this water coffee I've got here. This water had aguardente in the cup last night. It still tastes slightly of aguardente. Have a sip of that. Was watching something that
sadly
not enough aguardente for your liking by a man called Dave Ramsey, and James echoes what you were saying. No matter how small and insignificant it may seem to us, it may change a life around. There you go. Carl, how's your coffee? Says Jim. No, he actually is saying that now. You're thinking I'm making it up, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yes, Jim, that's on there. Yeah.
That's bitten me on the backside, that, isn't it? Mrs. M knows you too well, says Francis as well. She's psychic. She can see the comments and the not comments here. Coffee all round, please, says Tita.
I am very switched on to Carl's
ruses.
Yeah, I mean, because what you don't realize is he does it all day long. It's not just on here, it's all day, literally.
Oh, that.
For those, I don't know if any of you have ever seen that program Cuckoo, but he is just like Chief Ken from Cuckoo.
Chief Ken, that's
so if you know that program, that's Chief Ken that I live with.
But aren't I a mixture of Cuckoo and Chief Ken in a way? Maybe that's
he's more Chief Ken.
There's a bit too specialist for everybody.
He's Chief Ken when he's feeling superior.
Bruises, T-Duck is saying. No, it needn't get to that. Before you go, and I don't want you to. You
just told me not to go, and now you're saying before you go, like doing a bit of an embedded command in NLP.
What I mean is,
listener, he was listening. You said you needed to go.
No, I didn't say I needed to go. I said I was thinking about going to make us both a cup of tea.
Okay.
Oh, you're a good listener.
Imagine that.
I just wanted. Oh dear, something else occurred to me about this wonderful methodology or insight you've been listening to. Dane here and Gary Douglas is what triggered all these dreams, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But there was something else that I was reminded of to do with that. But it's gone now. It's gone now. But I'm sure it's connected with privilege. And,
Okay, gone
what?
now, go now.
Do you think I'm still programmed?
Yeah, totally.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I've got something. I keep coughing. I keep coughing.
Oh God, that was terrible.
I hope it's a Delta coffee, says Deacon. He really is saying that. Before you go, now hold on. Look, we've got a wine quiz to do this morning. All right. Will you please take part in a little bit of the first 10 questions of the wine quiz? The second 10.
Well, I have already tasted the wine, haven't I? I drank it before.
Yes.
Launched it, so I can definitely appraise it if that's what the questions are about.
No, the questions are much broader in their scope. We will be tasting that wine that I've set aside for the wine club that you've drank again.
Yeah.
But
I think that's the first one.
It happens every time I buy a bottle of wine for the wine club, and it's like, it
doesn't happen every time.
Well, okay. We will go. Let's start the wine quiz. And the first question of my Portuguese wine quiz is this. James, would you care to take part in this as well?
I know very little about wine, so I might be able to make it funny with my guesses. But
good. Well, yes, that's the whole point here. I've tried to make them amusing rather than you need to be a wine snob, nerd, or geek to
okay.
Yeah, I'm not a wine snob. If it's there, I drink it.
Well, you know me. I told you the bottle of wine I gave you was the cheapest bottle I could find in the store because my commitment to wine in Portugal is to always buy the cheapest one and see what it tastes like. So
that was very generous of you, James. Talking of some generosity.
You're really touched.
I wouldn't say that. I could have afforded a much more expensive bottle, but
interesting. Go on with the questions.
Okay. In the British tradition of serving port, which way should the bottle or decanter be passed around the table? Is question one.
I have no idea. Maybe to the left-hand
it's
side.
multiple choice, which you'd have seen if you'd been able to see the screen.
What, left or right?
To the right, A. B, under the table.
I like D. I like D. Yeah.
C, to the left, and via the Bishop of Norwich. Does anyone know the origins of the Bishop of Norwich?
No.
Tune in tonight for the wine quiz and for the rest of the wine quiz to find out. Okay.
Is it like I'm imagining like a pass the parcel? Like we actually did a pass the parcel very recently, like for a joint birthday party for our two boys, and I'd forgotten just how awful pass the parcel is for kids, and of course we've got like a 2-year-old and a just 4-year-old. Who both like fell about in like absolute, not laughter, but like in absolute sorrow because they had to pass it on. So I want to go for the option where I just get past the port and then I hold on to it for the rest of the damn evening.
Then the Bishop of Norwich is evoked in such a situation.
Seriously?
Yeah. I'll tell you more about this tonight. Okay, this is real cliffhanger stuff. So D has been chosen by a few people. T-Duck says keep the decanter. That also would evoke the Bishop of Norwich, which you'll discover later on. Okay, question 2 then. I think I might do 3 because I'm quite excited about this. The world's first demarcated wine region, created in 1756, is in Portugal. But where is it? Is it A, no one can remember? Is it B, Benfica? Is it C, the Alentejo? Or is it D, the Douro?
I like A. I'm going to go for
no
A.
one can remember where it is.
I think they demarcated it while they were just like a bit merry.
Tipsy.
Maybe for a year or so, and then promptly forgot about it because they're very humble about all their treasures, aren't they? The Portuguese,
exactly.
Like you almost have to, like fall into a place of interest because they don't really advertise very much. The only things that are advertised really are real estate agents on the side of big roads.
That's a very interesting
observation. Like you do. Yeah, I mean, and when you're about 200 meters away from the dinosaur park in Lourinhã, I've never really seen lots of billboards. Oh, and obviously
do you mean the Remax dinosaur?
Yeah, like
Center?
the Remax. Apart from, I must just like cap this and say, obviously in the Algarve, there's billboards everywhere, but the rest of Portugal doesn't really have them.
It's good. Yeah, people don't need to
So-
advertise things here because they know when they're happening.
Yeah, so that's why I think
Yeah.
it's not. Nobody knows about it because they're so quiet about it.
Yep,
That's my
very good.
answer.
Okay, all right. Tune in tonight to hear the other 10 questions. We'll do 10 this morning and we'll do 10 tonight. And I'll do all the answers tomorrow as well in case you can't join us this evening. Cercial, this is one of the more serious ones. Cercial, Verdelho, Boal, and Malvasia, white grapes, are used in the production of which Portuguese fortified wine? Would it be A, Madeira? Would it be B, Victoria? Would it be C, Battenberg? Or would it be D, Bolo de Roche? Do you see what I did there?
Yeah,
See, I made a
you
sort of
threw it there. You really threw it. I'm going to
Yeah,
go with A.
Very good.
I
James?
choose E, white wine.
Well, kind of. Whoa! Tune in tonight to see whether James is right or wrong. But thank you, Antonio F, taking this seriously and doing very well, I have to say. Pete, not a fan of Douro. Ew, says, or maybe he's saying "el" the Douro, as in I the Douro, like I am Spartacus. But I think he
I
doesn't.
believe
like
it's Douro, but
Douro.
don't let me get in the way.
No, and you're very welcome to. This is the day you do get in the way, and quite rightly so, on a Monday.
On purpose.
Aguardent, and Carl's got wood this morning. Nice Madeira joke there. Well done, Pete. Okay, next question. I'm gonna do 4. We'll come back to a few more later on.
Because you can.
Because I can, and because I'm really enjoying this. How many top-level
There you go.
Portuguese wine regions, DOCs? That would be. I would get you to read this if you can see the screen, Mrs. M. Denominação de origem controladas are there? More than 100? None. C, 3 of them, or D, 26 of them?
I'm going to go 26.
Isn't D26 Eminem's backup band?
No idea.
Oh, okay.
And because it's Portugal, the land of wine, I'm going with A.
Are you more than 100? Wow, James.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Mrs. Emmett is actually right there. It's 26.
Woo! Good job.
26. And Jim agreed with you. The gyms, the mindful gyms have gone with A.
You know what they say about like minds.
Yes, it's so true. It's almost a scientific experiment this morning. You two are so on the same page. Okay, one more for you then. And we'll come back to the other 5 of the first 10. Mrs. M really loving this. I can see the look on her face, which you can see also, but she can't. Which of these famous people has not been associated with Portugal's world famous Matias Rosé? A, Jimi Hendrix. Not been associated, right? B, Frank Sinatra. Should we do an impersonation of all of these people?
You can. I can't.
Have fun.
No,
I can't wait to hear your Jimi Hendrix.
I don't know. I haven't practiced my Saddam Hussein. Although, okay, so which of these famous people has not been associated with Portugal's world famous Matias Rosé? A, Jimi Hendrix. B, Frank Sinatra, because he did it his way, of course. C, Queen Elizabeth II. And D, Saddam Hussein. James, which would you say?
I have no idea, but I will go.
I'm going to say
So
Queenie.
honest.
I'm going to say Queenie.
I will go with Queen Elizabeth.
Well, you'd be wrong. Because-
Seriously,
Okay.
what a sellout.
She had.
It wouldn't be the first time.
And I don't mean that in a judgmental way. I just mean that in a kind of factual, right or wrong way.
Well, I took it that way, so it must have been.
Okay, so should we work our way through these? Who has not been associated then of Jimmy, Frank, and Saddam? Is the answer always
How
D?
long has
No,
like,
it's
when
not,
did
Carlos.
when did it first start being produced?
Matias Rosé.
Yeah.
I asked the questions here.
If he wanted you to know that, it would have been in the question.
E. Will Thompson.
I'm gonna say Frankie.
Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
And is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Okay, James, what is your final answer, please?
Well, my final answer was Queen Elizabeth, but you told me I'm wrong. So if I get another final answer, I'll go with Saddam Hussein. Just because I'm randomly choosing. And D seems to always be the correct answer. So I'll go with that one then.
The right answer, and let me see if I've got a jingle for this. I think I might have.
Hendrix.
That's for you, because that's
Two-time loser.
the correct answer is Frank Sinatra, as far as I can tell, was never connected. He was connected with other things, which are brought up on a Google search, but not Mathias Rosé. There is a picture of Jimi Hendrix drinking some Mathias Rosé in a really fantastic black and white picture from probably the early 70s. Queen Elizabeth II was a bit partial to a bit of the old Portuguese rosé, and Saddam Hussein, apparently, we are told, allegedly had some in his wine cellar as well.
Wow.
Okay. How
The
exciting.
things you don't know.
Where's my coffee? And I bit on Jimmy Hendrix, said Antonio F. Okay, that's enough of the wine quiz for now. We've got 5 more questions. I really enjoyed that. I think I might do a quiz.
Oh, good God.
I don't think anyone else enjoyed that quite as much as I did. All right. Okay, like mine's the California effect. Is there some truth in that, do you think, Jim and James?
It could well be.
Could be. I like it. The easygoing, relaxed Californians in the house this morning. 31 DOCs in Portugal. Point of order from Peter, ever the teacher. 31 DOCs in Portugal, although 3 of them overlap, making it seem more like 28. And that's the problem, isn't it, with these things? When you have a pub quiz, there's always somebody who says, actually, no. So final word goes with the quiz master. But I take your point there, Peter. Thank you very much for your extra input on that. And yes, some were subsumed and consumed like a good Portuguese wine. Jimi Hendrix drank Mathias Rosé. Yes, fantastic pictures, I say, of him circulating on the internet of him swigging straight from the bottle, I should add as well. Okay, some pictures have come in this morning. Thank you, everybody, on 913-590-303. Have you got into a state of deep meditation, Mrs. M?
No, I was thinking about the question of privilege.
Oh, really? Go on, carry on.
Because whilst it looks very much like... most of the people listening into the show will be, could very well fit into that privileged category. I suspect it's much more of an American demographic. And I think a lot of people who moved before the Brexit may well have moved without like bucket loads of cash and stuff. So there's probably quite a lot of people.
Yes.
And also we've met Europeans very recently who almost feel like they fled their country. And I'm aware of other people. So I don't necessarily think the expat community, like the GMP community, would necessarily feel privileged in the same way. We might feel privileged because of having the opportunity,
yes,
but not necessarily in terms of wealth. I think there's quite a big gap that maybe a lot of our American viewers, audience, GuMPers, whatever you want to call yourselves, I don't think you can quite fathom the difference between sort of like earning potential and relative wealth from America, or even and like saying that in America, what we hear on the news is like the relative poverty of Americans. That's the thing that's like really emphasized right now, that there's chaos and mayhem and this, that, and the other. So I think, a lot of Americans that are coming over on the D7s are very privileged, and in terms of wealth.
Well, pretty much anyone who's coming over on at least the Gold and the D7 have to have substantial financial means to do that. So anyone who has those visas, for sure. Yeah,
and I don't suppose there's that many Brits that could do that post Brexit, unless they're already retired and had very, very good positions, because I would say the percentage of Brits that could do that would be significantly smaller than the percentage of Americans that could do that. I know there's quite a few wealthy Belgians and French coming over, because we've had, we've seen them in and around town and whatnot, and heard reference to them via Portuguese friends and stuff. In particular, people in retail, talking about who's buying the houses and this, that, and the other. So I think the GuMPer community might be a little bit more split than we realize in terms of I feel privileged. I was wondering, you said you feel very privileged, Carl. I was thinking, I wonder how Carl feels privileged, because I feel privileged that we were able to move before Brexit. And I feel very I don't know if privilege is the word. I was brought up with a really negative sort of understanding of the word privileged. It was almost used as a stick to beat me with, but
Well, because you had food and African children didn't, that kind of privilege.
I think
Yeah.
my mum and
It was
dad
a very
used it. I
70s
think
thing,
my
wasn't
mum
it?
and dad used it as a way to say I was ungrateful.
But did they also feel a little bit aggrieved towards wealthy people as well? I'm
Yeah,
not
they definitely
I'm not
did.
singling out your mum and dad for this, but isn't that an interesting
No.
thing? How it is. You see, there's
It's a very strange word. I love the word gratitude. I've got no problems with that. I feel very grateful
Mhm.
to be here. I feel very grateful to have Carl in my life. I know we sort of like play up the sort of like discord between us, but it's touching my feet under the table. That's nice.
I can do that now.
Yeah, you can. That's a really nice thing. I noticed you didn't put the heater on for me though. I mean, that would have been a
It'll
nice
happen
touch.
tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Well, I think it's
very
important
privileged
to
have our
make
children as well.
I think it's important to make the distinction between wealthy and privileged. They're not the
Yes.
same
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah.
As entitlement is not the same thing as privilege. You can be poor and feel entitled. You're not necessarily, that's not necessarily a function of privilege.
Mm.
So for me personally, when I'm thinking of privilege, it means have an advantage. So
Yeah.
if I own a home, I'm privileged.
Mm.
Because in my case, in my life, I was never able to buy a home. So people who can sell a home and move are
Yeah.
privileged, even if
Yeah.
they're living in their country, paycheck to paycheck. If people have the sale from a home or can buy a home in Portugal, for instance, that's privilege too, even if it puts them to having to budget themselves. Because I'm not in a position to have a home and live the way I want to live, but I'm still privileged because I can choose the way I want to live. I just can't buy a home. So there's that element to it. And I think you're absolutely right. As I was thinking about it this morning, refugees in the country would not necessarily be considered privileged unless you really want to stretch it and say they're fortunate enough to not be stuck in a country that's oppressing them anymore.
Yes.
I wouldn't say that's privilege necessarily. Certainly something to be grateful for.
Yes.
So yeah, I certainly didn't intend it to be a blanket statement for the community. I think what I said is most of us in this community, yeah. And I don't know that much about it, short of the names that come up in the comments, and and some of the conversations are clear, like, oh, I don't know which house to buy. It's like, okay, so there are those people for sure.
Yeah, very, very fortunate. One of like in talking about refugees and people feeling like they need to leave their country, I think if wealth wasn't an issue for people, if everyone had plenty of cash to go around and to to live the rest of their lives, I wonder how many people would actually choose to stay in their own country. Because I think a lot of like refugees, I think if the status was better where we came from, I think most people would probably actually want to stay where they have family, where they have friends, where they know their language, where they fit in. Yeah, it's a big questions. I'm actually being called away, and I'll make the coffee for you.
Oh, bless you. But before you go, we have been talking, and I want to acknowledge the work of Dane here and Gary Douglas, because the interesting thing about this conversation and where it can go, and where it often does go on social media and in public discussion, is revolves around the idea they have that everything is a point of view.
Yeah,
we're like, in our purest form, and what mindfulness might be, bringing it back to the mindful migration Monday, is that we are consciousness having a point of view.
Yeah,
and the difference between a point of view and a judgment when it comes to privilege is, oh, that's an interesting point of view.
Yeah,
what do I do with that?
Yeah,
when it becomes a judgment, it's often becomes heavy and harmful.
Yeah,
doesn't it? It's like, you are privileged.
Yes.
Bloody blah. I've got all these ideas about you. I am privileged. I've got all these ideas about myself. But if you hold it as like, that's an interesting point of view, which is exactly what I think James did.
Yeah.
This is how you tend to share with us, James, is that I noticed this about privilege, and this is what I can act on as a result of noticing that in me, that point of view. And that is so much of what goes on in the world at the moment, isn't it? Is that the point of view becomes a judgment, and then these things get weaponized, and they become quite harmful and difficult.
Yes, perspective and opinion become a therefore. That's how I define judgment.
Okay, yeah, go on, say more.
So it's like, okay, I have an opinion that is by virtue of what it's called an opinion. It's not necessarily based on anything factual. It's just something that I have, something I believe, an opinion I hold. That's fine. I can have all the opinions I want, and it doesn't hurt anybody. But judgment comes when I say, if you fit whatever my idea of my opinion is, and then I put a therefore you are, or therefore you believe, or therefore that's a judgment, or therefore it's a bad thing, or even a good thing. I mean, we talk about judgments, but not all judgments are bad. We judge people in positive ways too. There's still judgments.
That's a very important thing to recognize, actually, that, you know, we are judgmental positively as well. So like when we're non-judgmental, it's, you know, we can be like, we can allow ourselves to be harmed and harm ourselves by having such positive judgments as well, you know.
But even the positive judgments and the positive judgments,
we identify with them,
they
become part of our identity, how we believe
right.
ourselves to be. And then when we're not like that because of a judgment we've made about ourselves, then we're a bit like, oh, what's happened?
Well, they also, I mean, the thing is, a judgment in and of itself doesn't hold any power. It's just a judgment. It's what we attempt to do with our judgment and how people receive that judgment that impacts people. Because I've been, if one of the practices that I have learned that I find very powerful is, in essence, judging people positively by recognizing character traits they may not see in themselves, but I see. So it's my judgment that you have these things. It's my opinion that you have these things. I see you as being loving. I see you as being dedicated and committed and kind. Those are things of opinions I may have about you based on my experience of you, that when you hear them actually lift you up. I mean, so judgment can bring you down. It can lift you up. It can make you feel superior or inferior. There's lots of things judgment can do. So a lot of it goes with how are you framing it, and are you aware that what you're saying is a judgment to begin with? So maybe you don't even need to say it.
What you're doing about it, right? How it causes you to act, which is, I think, what you always tend to come back to, James. Thank you, Pete, for your contribution. We are. Are you
I'm going to go because there's kids screaming, and also I really do need a coffee.
Okay,
there you go.
And to
lovely
everyone,
chatting with you, Louisa.
Or even see the comments of, but love you all.
You get some of this though.
Thank you.
It's the least I can do.
Thanks. Yeah.
A can of laughter.
Thank you for your call, caller.
Am I off the screen now?
You are now.
Great.
Okay, but we can still hear you. If
don't
no swearing as you go out, please. This bloody setup. It better be better tomorrow.
Damn, that was impossible.
We can hear you if you slam the door. We are very lucky. You're right to think of it being a frame of mind, but if you think of people living in basements in the Ukraine, it does seem to be a little navel gazing. Now, this is interesting because, of course, it does if all you do is notice and pontificate about people in basements in Ukraine. And if you're truly moved to do something about people living in the basements of Ukraine, then you would presumably change your state, wouldn't you, to be in action, to be positively doing something about it. I would have thought that having a judgment about people in basements in Ukraine is navel gazing, whether you think it's a good thing or a bad thing. If you feel good or if you feel bad, if you're supposed a demonic Russian who likes that idea, or a freedom-seeking person who supports the Ukrainians, it's all navel gazing, really, in a way, isn't it? Unless you're actually doing something about it. So thank you for that, Pete.
And I might even find an argument for that. Being able to navel gaze is a position of privilege. You have the time and space in your life to pontificate, right?
Yes.
It's like I remember back in the early 70s, there was conversation about all these hippies were just privileged kids because they were taken care of otherwise, so they had the time and the freedom to consider what's wrong with the world and what they want to change, and navel gaze and all the rest of it. So an argument certainly could be made for that. I don't think you have to be.
It's not their fault, is it? It's not people's fault that they are who they are. I think that's another part of this problem of judging other people as privileged. They can't help it, can they? You can't not be who you are, and it's all relative. So you're always going to look privileged to somebody, I suspect. And you can't help that. You can't help but be, you know, like my kids I think are in so many ways so better off than so many other people. But that's not their fault, is it? That's I've kind of
No,
helped.
again, it's not about making it, it's not about fault. You know, for me,
Yeah.
the empowering position is gratitude and then the choices you make and the actions you take based on those choices. That's the
Yes.
power of it. It doesn't do anyone any good to be ashamed of it or proud of it, or, you know, as you said, many of us, it's just a function of what we were born into or what's been made available to us over the course of our life. So
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Yes, stop laughing. I think it's probably with Mrs. M. Stop laughing long enough to smash that like button. Thank you. Or just give it a nice little tickle. Pete, there's plenty you can do. We can help out. We help out at a local refugee centre, and shockingly, Fundau has taken far more Ukrainians than Richmond, a far wealthier region in the southwest of London where Pete used to live. Well done, Pete. Nice job. When we find ourselves judging anything, check how it feels in your body. Great. Oh, you Jim, stop it.
and humans do that. That's a human characteristic. We judge. So
Yes.
we can't not judge. So then it's a matter of being aware of what we're judging, why we're judging, how we're judging, and what we want to do with it. But humans are meaning making and judgers. We do those things.
Aren't we just? And we can acknowledge that, which is quite a privilege again, isn't it? And, you know, ask that question, how's that working out for us as well? You know, what are the results of our judging and our meaning making, and where's it leading? For Pete, it's leading to taking action at a local refugee centre. Opinions, this is great, Jim. Again, opinions in general tend to separate us. We think adding anger to the opinion contributes to the disconnects, and we see that, don't we? And if we could observe it, but as you say, James, because we are meaning making machines, if we could just observe it and be with it, and then take a form of action other than getting angry to add to the.
Well, that's the role of ego again. You know,
Yes.
I believe that every conflict is an ego conflict. So yes, we get angry. Why do we get angry? Because your opinion is wrong and mine is right. That couldn't be a more entrenched ego position. Like that's
Well
it.
said. Well said, sir. Okay, and sometimes privilege is the result of hard work, years of hard work and sacrifice. Yep,
Absolutely.
Duck, for sure.
And it doesn't take away from the fact that it's still privilege.
Yep. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Never trade luck for skill, as my Uncle Bob used to say. And I had one of those as well, as he survived over 50 missions in the B-17s, on the B-17s.
Ooh, that was a fortunate man.
Lucky Bob, absolutely. Yeah. Immigration is a big house. That's like in my father's house, there are many mansions. I think that might be what you're getting at there. And I'm surprised, says Jim, about the range of American wealth in the community. And again, it's not the Americans' fault that they are some of the richest people in the world. It's just somebody's got to be, right? I am surprised about the range of American wealth in the community. It ranges from those looking to live well on their social security and those reinvesting cash on large properties. Absolutely. Amen to that. I'd certainly see that. Marcus, good morning to you. The thing is, everyone has some sort of privilege. The key is to recognize what yours is and start asking yourself, what am I doing with this privilege? Yeah, nice.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I used to stick. Matthias Rose was created 80 years ago. I'll pass that on. Thanks, Jim, to Mrs. M. Used to stick candles in Matthias Rose bottles and let wax drip down over them. Sure, Jimmy encountered that too. It was a cultural thing for a while, wasn't it? Just and Chianti bottles. And there he is. We don't know who the young lady is who was having an evening out with Jimmy. It could have been a morning, knowing Jimi Hendrix, right? But there he is sipping on what looks like a little, not miniature, but a half bottle possibly of Matthias Rose, unless he had a very big head and hands. I'm not entirely
Maybe
sure.
he was a giant.
In many ways, he was.
He was, yeah.
Yeah.
In his profession, anyway, yes.
Yes, indeed. Guitar playing giant. Thank you, everybody. We're drawing to a close with Stephen saying the big question is, are we judging are we judging to make us feel better than others, i.e. you are bad, etc.? Or are we judging to make others feel better about themselves, i.e. you look good, that was nice, etc.? And I guess you would say the latter is more favorable. And until it becomes fixed, and isn't that the motion and the movement of the human? When we try and fix things, it doesn't seem to go terribly well for us.
Well, when we qualify something, we're judging. I mean, you just can't get away from it. If we qualify it as good or bad, that's a judgment.
Yeah, yeah. But then do we hold on to it? You know, do we turn it into a holy book with which to beat other people. That
An
bottle's
ego position.
just the right shape to catch the dripping wax. What an excellent final thought there. We'll have a premature climax again this morning. And I thank you, James, for your wonderful input this morning. We'll finish with a little amuse-bouche, literally, of ginger on gin action. James, last word to you. Thank you so much for that very thought-provoking discussion and input this morning. Have a great week. Do you have a last word?
Thank you so much.
We didn't get to you reading it, but can you send me the blog so I can publish it on our website?
Yes, I think I'll hold off till because I'd like to present it. I'll just bring it with me next week, and we can create the space for that. And absolutely, I want to know how to get it onto your blog on your site. So, yeah, I just want to say that I came in feeling a little bit anxious about a discussion about privilege and how it might impact us. And I feel supported by the community and feel really good about having had the conversation. So. Thank you very much for all of that.
Well, thank you. And I would like to think that's the mark of this community, because if let's say you didn't have it and you went away, to me that's a great result, that you dared to say it. You were vulnerable enough to say it. You articulated it out loud and in witnessed by people here, and it was safe to do that. And I would extend that invitation to the whole GuMPer community. It's better out than in. Better out than in, I think, generally speaking. You came, you listened, you were magnificent, James. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much.
And let's go out with that video. We got James, we got a very quick message from Deagle in front of the glowing embers. That's one of his favorite Christmas pieces, Santa and the baby Jesus. That's a nice hybrid, isn't it? Cultures.
Looks like me on Christmas Eve. Sound asleep.
Peggy, thank you for this. We've got video to come from your lovely cookie swap. That looks like a fantastic event in the Algarve. Okay, over to Mrs. M now for a final tasting of the ginginia. And do send in your videos so we can add them to our advent calendar. James, have a great day, mate. And everybody, all you GuMPers, have a wonderful week. Ciao and bye for now.
Ciao, ciao.
We are by the Opera Cafe, and there's only one thing missing from this beautiful scene. There's a beautiful lady, Mrs. M. You dribbling again? Yeah. We got you a ginger en chocolat, didn't we, in a chocolate cup, and you just downed it, so I had to go and buy another one for this demonstration. Easy. So would you like to give us a little bit of a review in this Christmassy scene here?
It's really nice.
It's really nice, yeah. Cherry liqueur, isn't it? It's misleading to call it ginger, isn't it?
Yeah. A sweet cherry liqueur. It's very sticky because I got some all over my hands from before.
Yes. And this is this is so ecologically friendly, isn't it?
Tiny little
and a little Alcobasa cup.
I love that.
And that looks like it could go in Grandma's little glass cabinet.
Do you know what though? It's not quite big enough for a real shot, is it?
What, of wine? No, definitely not.
You want a bigger shot glass.
Yes.
It's so sweet.
And the kids want to have the chocolate cup. Digby said, "Can I have the chocolate cup?" He said, "No."
No way.
Happy Christmas, kids.
I got a cupcake instead.
Did you?
It's actually made out of slime.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Enjoy. I think Mummy thinks
really
she got the best deal there.
It's really delicate chocolate.
Really delicate chocolate. Okay. Right. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it because it set me back a whole euro. Prosh festive.